and congratulations on making it this far. So far, we've learned how to how to enter data, how to format worksheets, how to use formula and functions, creating of tables, retrieving of information using local function, etc., etc. So in today's lesson, we are going to learn one of Excel's most powerful tools for data analysis, and that is the pivot table. So if you've ever wondered how people create reports that shows total sales by region, the number of employees in each department, or average monthly revenue within seconds, pivot tables are the answers. So by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to create a professional summary report without writing complex formulas. So let's get started. So what is a pivot table? A pivot table is a tool that summarizes large amounts of data into meaningful information. So just imagine you have plenty data, let's say thousands of data, and you are asked to give a summary of the thousands of data you have. So pivot table is the right tool to use to have that information. So instead of looking through hundred or thousands of uh, records in a row, so a pivot table will organize your data into an easy to read report. So you can think of it this way. Imagine you have imagine your company has, let's say, 5,000 sales records. Okay, your company has 5,000 sales records, and your manager asks you to or your manager asks you what's the total sales for each region, okay, is, and also which salesperson made the highest sales and which product was sold most. So without pivot table, answering these questions could take a long time. But with pivot table, Excel can answer this and handle this information just in a few clicks. Okay, so this is actually what data analysis is meant to do, to actually summarize reports for you, okay, to give you an information that is easier for you to read. So first thing first, we are going to prepare our data. That's the first thing you're going to do. You're going to prepare your data. So before creating a pivot table, your data should be organized properly. So during in the background, I've already set up some data that we are going to use. Okay, so we are going to use the sales record data set for this particular class. So each of the columns here has a clear heading. Each of them has a clear heading. We have the date, the salesperson, the region, the product, the quantity, the unit price, the total sales. So these are the columns we are going to be working with. And also, when you are practicing your own, or when you are doing your own, or if you are asked to do your own, please always make sure that there is no blank rows. So completely remove blank rows, okay? For you to have an accurate result, please always remove blank rows. And also, there should be no blank columns As you've seen mine, there are no blank columns at all. So if you have those blank rows and columns, please take them out, and each row should represent a complete record. Okay, so you should not have that you have a date here but there is no name, okay, or there is no region, or there is no product. Please, all of your records should be complete. There should be no incomplete records. So after having your data sets, okay, should be well organized. So we are going to do that by making sure we convert this our data into a table. Okay, we said in our previous lesson, we said that it's always important when you're working with data, you put it on a table for you to have uh, a clear and accurate result. So we put it on a table. So I'll just put mine on a table and make sure this is ticked. My table has either option is ticked, and then I click OK. So it's been converted to a table. So in our previous class, we learned how to, in our previous module, we've learned how to convert data sets into a table. So if you find it hard to do that, please go back to the previous module and you will know how to do this perfectly. Now, the next thing to do is for us to create pivot table now. So our data set is being organized, it's well organized and clear. So the next step is creating our pivot table. So for us to create our first pivot table, okay, we are going to click anywhere inside our data. So we click anywhere inside our data, and then after that we go to the insert tab. So we click on the insert tab and then click on pivot table. You've seen it under the tables group, you see pivot table. So you click on pivot table. Okay, so after that is done, Excel automatically selects your data. As you've seen here, Excel automatically selects the data in the table. Then here we are going to choose, it says choose where you want the pivot table to be placed. Okay, the pivot table is to be placed in a new worksheet or existing worksheet. So we just want it out of this worksheet. So let's just see it in a different worksheet so that our report will be well organized. It should not be mixed with our data set so that it won't be confusing. But if you want it in the same worksheet, you choose this existing worksheet. But we want it in a new worksheet, so it's going to appear in a separate worksheet. So I'll click OK right now. So clicking on OK, you've seen is created. So congratulations, you've created your first pivot table. Now looking at this, it would be quite confusing, but let's just understand this. Let's understand the pivot table fields. Okay, let's understand the pivot table fields. So on the right hand side, which is this other side, okay, you see pivot table fields pane. So this is the pivot table fields pane. Now this contains all the column names from your data, contains the column names from your data. So if you go back, you notice that you had a column called date, you had a column called salesperson, region, project, unit price, quantity, and total sales. So this was the column names you had in your data, and below it Yeah, below it is 4 important areas. One, two, three, four. So 4 important areas. The first one is a filter. You use to filter your reports. This particular one, this particular area is used to filter your reports. Now the next one is the column. With this, you use this to determine what appears across the top, okay, and the row, or you determine what appears down the left side, okay. And also value, this one contains the number Excel calculates, such as sum, count, average, and so on and so forth. So think of these 4 areas as they are building blocks for every pivot table. So for you to have a good, well structure, okay, in a pivot table, just think of this as if it is that all materials, let's say building blocks, okay, for every pivot table. Now, a practical example. So let's create this simple sales record or sales report. So first of all, drag region into the row column. So here, the region here, we're going to drag the region to the row area. So I'll drag the region to the row area and leave it. So just click and drag, okay. So that's first thing to do. Now the next one, I'm going to now drag total sales into the value area. So I'll go to the total sales and drag total sales into the value area. So you can see that immediately that is done, Excel displays the total sales for each region. So just like that, you summarize that data. So with this automatically help us see the total sales, okay, in each of the region. It's help us to see the total sales in each of the region. So that's what you do for you to see the total sales for each of the region. So you drag the region to the rows, and then you drag the total sales to the value. So by doing that, you're going to see your total sales in each of the region. So that's why we are doing what we are doing right now. Okay, now by default, Excel usually uses sum for numbers. Okay, it usually uses sum for your total cells, okay, or for your totals. Okay, so that's what Excel uses by default. But sometimes you would not want to see the sum of the total cells, okay. You would want to see average of the total cells, or the minimum cells, or the maximum cells, okay, or the numbers of cells. So how will you make changes to that? Okay, how will you do that? So for you to change, do this. So you are going to go to the region where you have values. You're going to see a drop down arrow, this particular arrow beside it. You're going to click on that arrow. When you click on that drop down arrow beside the field in the value area, you're going to see value field settings. So choose that option, value field settings. So once you click, the dialog box opens, the value field setting dialog box opens. Now you can select the calculation you want. Okay, you can select the calculation you want. Apart from summing up, okay, apart from summing up your total sales, you can choose to see the average sales. So let me choose average here, average of my total sales. So click on that, and then I'll click OK here. So once I click OK, you see that my report will be updated automatically. Let's click and see. All right, so in each of the region, you've seen the average sales in each of the region. Okay, in each of the region, average, you've seen average sales in each of the region. So that's how to change the calculation in your value settings. Now let's add more fields to it so that our report will be more useful. Okay, so we'll still keep our region in the row. Then now what we are going to do is for us to drag the salesperson under the region. Okay, we'll drag the salesperson under the region. So we'll drag it below the region. So just put it under. So I'll click and then we'll drag. Then you leave. All right. What do you notice? What happened? So you've seen that each region expands to show individual salesperson and their sales. Okay. So with this, it gives you more detailed report. So you have more detailed reports. As you can see here, you have that in the East. Okay, the salesperson Andrew sold is the average of what Andrew sold. This is average of what Smith sold. Okay, so totally in East, this was the average amount of what was sold. And you have also in the North, this was the total of what was sold and who sold what. So John sold this. So there you have more detailed reports. So it shows individual salesperson and their sales. Okay. Now filter. Let's filter some data in our pivot table. Okay, let's filter some data in our pivot table. So supposing your manager wants to see only one product, okay, across each of the region, just want to see only one product. So under the product, I'm going to, okay, on the products field, I'm going to drag the product into the filter area. So I just drag product and put in the filter area. Just click drag and then leave it. So after that, I'll choose the products I want. Have you seen the drop down arrow here? So I just click on this drop down arrow here and then I'll choose the product I want. Let's say I want to see only laptop. Your manager wants to see only laptop. So I'll click on laptop and I click OK. So you've seen that it has filtered the information. So your entire report now shows information for only that product. So it shows information for only laptop. So laptop was sold in the East region, it was sold in the Northern region, it was sold in the Southeast region, it was sold in the Southwest region, and the names of people that make those sales. So this is just how to give your report and show a meaningful information. Okay, now let's see how we can refresh a pivot table. Refreshing a pivot table. Now this is one of the steps many beginners forget. So if you add a new record to your original data, okay, this one, okay, the original data that we had, which we used to create this pivot table. So the pivot table does not update automatically if you add a new data here. it does not update the pivot table automatically. So to update it, okay, you just do this. So let's add a new data to it. Okay, so we are going to add let's add 30, 26. Then here we are going to add a name to it. Let's say Vincent. And it's from the southeast. Okay, and sold a phone. Sold 13 pieces. Okay, and it's 180,000. Okay, so you've seen the addition of our new record, our new data, and you see that we just added the records and we have our total sales being calculated automatically. So if you don't know how to um, make calculation in Excel, please go back to our previous video, okay, and watch how to calculate um, in Excel, how to make calculations in Excel. Okay, so now we've added a new record. Let's go back to our pivot table. So you've seen that in our pivot table, such thing is not added. Okay, such thing is not added. Now let's filter this to phone so that if we see, okay, let's make it all. Okay, so this is all the cells. Now looking at this, you will not see the person's name, Vincent, okay, in this. So how will we do that to make sure that our data is updated, is up to date? So I'm going to click anywhere inside the pivot table. Is already been clicked. Then I'll go to the pivot table analysis tab, this particular tab. So just click on this particular tab. Then I'll click on refresh, this particular option. So I'll just click on refresh. Okay, so now you've seen that Vincent is being added, okay, to Southeast region because he was in the Southeast region. So Vincent is being added and his cells also is being added as well. So your report now includes the latest data, okay, you've updated your data and it includes the latest data. So that's how to work with a pivot table, okay, in Excel. So here are some few tips when working with a pivot table. So you should always keep your source data clean. Always keep this data clean, the original data sets. Please always keep it clean. No spaces, no blank column, no blank rows. Please always keep it clean. Avoid those two things, blank rows and blank columns. Okay, always use a meaningful column heading. Okay, as you've seen mine it's in a meaningful column. You have a meaningful column here and it's in accordance to its records. So please always do that. Use a meaningful column headings. Next one, always convert your data into an Excel table before you create a pivot table. Always convert your data set into a table, okay, as you've seen me do. So if you don't know how to create a table, please watch my previous video and you will know how to create a table. Then always refresh a pivot table after adding or changing data. So if you make changes to your data, please do well to refresh, or what should I say? Refresh your pivot table so that the new changes will be added to your pivot tables. Now our practical exercises. So now it's your turn. Okay, so you can pause this video and complete the following exercises. So the first exercise is for you to create a sales data set with at least, let's say, 20 records. Okay, then convert it into an Excel table. After that, you create a pivot table. Then you show the total sales by region and add salesperson below region. Also, change the calculation from sum to average. Then add products as a filter. Then refresh your pivot table after adding a new sales record. So just take your time and complete the exercises before moving on. So with that, you are just doing an excellent and amazing work. So in today's lesson, we've learned what a pivot table is, why pivot tables are useful, how to create a pivot table, understanding rules, columns, values, and filters, how to summarize data. We've shown that. Also show how to change calculations. Also, we've also show how to filter records, and we've also shown how to refresh a pivot table. So these are essential skills for anyone working with reports or data analysis. So in the next module, we will learn how to present our data visually using charts and graphs. So you will discover how to transform number into clear, attractive visuals that helps people understand your data at a glance. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next lesson.
If you find this video helpful, please subscribe to SME Digital Tools Academy for more videos like these. Thank you.